So it's finally come down to this. Well, they murdered our podcast, so unfortunately you guys are stuck with this now. And what better time to start to rant and rave on video than after a 2-game losing streak? So your team lost to the Maple Leafs. What are you going to do? Well, if you're an Oilers fan and the last 10 years have been absolute and utter shit, you look for the positives. Hello, Jesse Puljujarvi. 7 shots on goal last night for the new Wonder Kid, but no goals to show for it, unfortunately, since he's still an 18-year-old rookie in the NHL. I'm still not convinced that some time in Bakersfield wouldn't do a lot of good for Jesse Puljujarvi, but man, over the last couple games, 2 or 3 games now, ever since the Winter Classic, basically, he's looked better and better every game, and last night was easily the best game of his young career so far. And after last night, I wouldn't be opposed to letting him have some time with Connor McDavid or even Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. See if he can get some offense going, see if he can get Nuge going. Nuge is a guy who desperately needs a goal and who desperately needs to play with someone offensive. No offense to Zach Cassian's 4 points so far. So, I mean, I think he's earned it for now. He doesn't look like right now he should be sent back to Bakersfield. But we're coming up into that 10-game mark, so it's kind of make or break time for old Pool Party. I think he's going to make the cut for the rest of the season, but we'll see what happens. All I know is that he's going to be an absolute gem for this team for years to come, and so far he's shown that he might get there sooner than we ever thought. Big game for Darnell Nurse last night. Darryl got a 2nd goal of the season last night, and he now leads all Oilers defensemen with 2 goals. He's definitely still got a lot of rough edges to his game. He's got a lot of room to grow still, but he's a 21-year-old defenseman who hasn't played a full season in the NHL, so, it's to be expected. I honestly don't expect for him to really start putting things together until next season. But for now, in the first handful of games of the season, he's making some definite strides. And how about your boy Anton Lander with his first goal of the season last night? Only took him 10 games this year. He's on pace for a career high of 8 goals if he can keep this train rolling.
I really like Anton Lander. I think he's a perfectly capable defensive centerman playing in the bottom 6. I think he's great.
And how about everyone's favorite little pickpocket Nuge? Another great game for him again. He's had a great season so far this year, even if the points don't reflect that. His stick checking is reaching Datsukian-like levels. He's faster than ever. My God, is he skating fast out there. He's winning battles along the boards. He's great in his own end, defensively responsible. It's unbelievable. And he's firing shots en masse. He added 4 shots last night against the Leafs, bringing his total on the year to 27, which puts him 2nd on the team in shots. So the lack of goals isn't for lack of trying. I think a lot more has to do with the fact that he's playing with Zach Cassian, who's never broken 30 points in his NHL career, and Benoit Pouliot, who's never broken 40. If only the Oilers had an elite forward who could play on his line and score goals. Cam Talbot, everyone's favorite dad, continues to be the early season MVP with another stellar performance. I mean, he let in 2 goals, and that was the most human he's looked all season, but he still made 28 saves. At the beginning of the season, I talked about how the team was going to live and die with the performances of Cam Talbot and Connor McDavid, and so far that's bearing out. Speaking of Connor McDavid, pretty quiet night for our boy last night against the Leafs. Props to Nazem Kadri for doing a pretty solid job of shutting him down and beating his grill all night. But he still managed to get 4 shots on net and look dangerous anytime he's out there, just like every other shift he's ever taken. The team is looking more competitive than they have in years, and a pretty sizable chunk of that is because of Connor McDavid. And one more positive I'd like to take from this game before I really dig in here is that the Oilers came back from a goal deficit twice. Twice they went down a goal, and twice they came back to tie the game up, which you would not have seen in seasons past. And I mean, without Talbot last night, it easily probably could have been 4-1 Leafs, and it would have been just another repeat of last year. But this year's Oilers team is more competitive, they are playing better, and we're seeing the results bear out so far in the first 10 games. And remember, not that long ago, when just the mere fact of getting to OT was considered a huge win for the sad sack Oilers, and last night we were all disappointed that they had to settle for a pity point against the Leafs, so you know things are different this year. But they still lost the game. This is the Oilers after all. And I think a huge part of the reason why they lost is because the secondary scoring has gone completely non-existent lately. Has anyone seen Jordan Eberle or Leon Draisaitl over the last 5 games? Anybody? Anybody? Leon? Jordan, you here? Anybody? You guys seen him over? No, it's not him? Okay, well. 0 points between them in the last 5 games, which is just, it's not acceptable. That's not good. especially for Eberle. Draisaitl didn't even manage to get a shot on net last night, and that was with 2 full minutes of power play time. So far, the Oilers' top line of McDavid, Eberle, and Lucic has combined for 25 points, where the next 6 forwards after them have 28. And that's when you include Mark Letestu and Tyler Pitlick, who both play on the 4th line. So essentially, when Connor McDavid's not going, and I guess the 4th line as well, the rest of the team suffers mightily. They need to find some scoring from someone other than Connor McDavid if they're ever going to have a chance to even remotely make the playoffs this year. But you have to think that, guys like Nuge and Draisaitl, they'll pick it up eventually. Jesse Puljujarvi, if he continues to go the way he's going, he'll find the back of the net eventually. But as of right now, the Oilers' lack of scoring depth is on full display. And that power play, oh my God, that power play. What is going on with the power play? It continues to plummet game after game. They're down to 20th in the league right now. And they're 1 for 13 in their last 5 games. 1 power play goal on 13 tries against the Canucks and the Leafs. So it's just, how is this happening? Whatever plan Jay Woodcroft is working on right now, he needs to crumple it up and throw it into a cleansing fire, and we should never speak of it ever again. And they're also still giving up way too many shots. Cam Talbot has given them superhuman goaltending so far this season, but part of that is due to the fact that they've given up 30 goals or more 7 times in their first 10 games. That's not good. You can't do that. You can't do that and expect to win every night, as we've seen. But, let me just say, the shots are also a little deceiving. As our friend and everyone's favorite Habs fan, Andrew Berkshire, showed in this neat little graph here, the Oilers are limiting their scoring chances, and most importantly, they're not giving up many scoring chances from 5 feet out. So they're limiting the chances to the outside. They're limiting the chances to a lot of long shots. So perhaps the shot numbers don't directly correlate to how good or bad the team has been playing defensively. But even having said all that, giving up 30 shots or more a night is not a great strategy, and they need to find a way to cut that down. I have just one little minor bone to pick here. So all summer, all I heard nonstop, especially on Twitter, especially in the comment sections, was about how much tougher the Oilers are this year. They got Milan Lucic going to come in. He's going to be a bodyguard to Connor McDavid. They got Zach Cassian and Patrick Maroon. They got a big defenseman in Adam Larson. This team is going to be tough. They're not going to be pushed around anymore. They're going to just crush people. And, Connor McDavid, no one's ever going to look at Connor McDavid because we got Milan Lucic here to act as his bodyguard. And, fair enough. The one thing I have noticed is the Oilers haven't been pushed around this year, but not in the sense of physically. I mean, that's probably part of it too, but they're not being pushed around in the sense that teams like Washington, teams like, even Calgary and Vancouver in the last couple of years would come into Rexall and they would just have their way with the Oilers. They would make them look like a team that should be relegated to the AHL. Whereas this year, the Oilers are playing harder and stronger and faster, and it has correlated to some wins, so that's looking good. However, last night we saw it against Buffalo. We've seen it here and there a few times, but let's just focus on last night. Nazem Kadri, all over McDavid all night. He's hitting him after the whistle. He's hitting him hard during the play. He's cross-checking him. He's hooking him. He's holding him. He's draping himself all over him. No one did a thing. Well, Milan Lucic gave him a mean look and said something to him on his way off the ice. Well, yeah, good. What happened? Kadri had his way with him for the rest of the game. McDavid got no points. Kadri wrestled McDavid to the ground and scored the game winner in OT. Where is this bodyguard coming from? And I'm not saying that Milan Lucic has to punch everybody in the face that looks like Connor McDavid, but maybe if he gives Kadri a face wash in the corner after a whistle, maybe he'll start thinking like, oh, maybe I shouldn't, maybe I shouldn't hit Connor McDavid after the whistle. Barring something like that, what if a guy like Pat Maroon or Zach Cassian goes out and just hammers Mitch Marner any chance he gets, or gives Austin Matthews a solid cross check into the back, or they face wash those guys after the whistle, like Pat Quinn said, give him a little dirt for dirt. I understand that we live in a league where you're not going to be fighting all the time, and I'm fine with that. I'm glad. Like I said, I don't want Milan Lucic going there fighting every time that anyone touches Connor McDavid, but they've done the complete opposite of what people were clamoring for all summer and what we were promised they were going to bring. Like they need to protect Connor McDavid. That's priority number 1, is to make sure that Connor McDavid has an easy time out there, and if he's not, then you have to do something about it and put a stop to it. And maybe it'll come. I know that teams are worried about giving up power plays and stuff this year. Maybe it's just one of these things. If it happens a couple more times, the guys will clue in. They'll be like, all right, look, we need to stick up for Connor here. Maybe McClellan will start kicking some trash cans around or whatever. But I mean, so far in the first 10 games, that supposed bodyguard aspect and the physicality just hasn't been there for me anyway. But look, this is the 2016-17 Oilers season. This isn't your daddy's Oilers season, assuming you were born in 2010 or after. So we're going to focus on the positives right now, and there's been a lot of them. So far, we've seen the Oilers score goals in bunches. We've seen the Oilers get unbelievable goaltending. We've seen Connor McDavid ascend to his rightful throne at the top of the hockey world. Leon Draisaitl continues to make strides. Jesse Puljujarvi looks like he's going to go down in history as the Oilers' biggest draft day steal ever. He's going to be, like I said, he's going to be an absolute gem to this team for years to come. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is the perfect complementary second-line center for a guy like Connor McDavid. Adam Larson has brought steady, quality, shutdown defending to the top pairing that the Oilers haven't had since, I don't know, Pronger, Vishnowsky maybe? Darnell Nurse continues to make improvements. Daryl! And Chris Russell. Chris Russell! Oh my god, I will fully admit that I hated that signing when it happened in the summer, but so far I've had no problem eating bowl after bowl of crow the better he's played. I still don't think it's going to be a thing he'll be able to keep up for a full season. I think things are going to come crashing down a little bit. And honestly, I think the ideal place for him is on the third line with Darnell Nurse, especially when Brandon Davidson comes back. But I mean, hey, so far so good. No complaints from this guy. And like I said, I will gladly continue to eat this crow as long as he continues to play well. The forecheck is faster and more aggressive than I've ever seen it, and it's working well for them so far. They're using the speed through the neutral zone to get the puck from their end into the offensive zone as fast as they can. And early on, the Oilers were finally getting some puck luck that we haven't seen in years and years and years. They were cashing in on rebounds. They weren't hitting a post every time. They've been banking goals left and right, which has been a very nice change of pace. And now, unfortunately, a lot of this is either unsustainable or due to just lucky bounces or some kind of combination of the two. But at the end of the day, all of this has added up to points on the board. Right now, the Oilers are first in the Pacific. They're 3 points up of San Jose. As a wise man once said, who saw this coming? Now, I'm still not convinced that this is a playoff team, but they've banked points up for now for the inevitable 4 or 5 games losing streak they go on, so that's a positive sign. And I mean, the more points they bank up right now, the better chance they do have of being maybe a bubble team. And I mean, everything is so topsy-turvy in the Pacific Division right now that who the hell knows what's going to happen with that. At the end of the day, overall, it's been a surprisingly great start to the Oilers season. And if there's one thing that we can all confidently say, it's this. It's November, and the Oilers aren't eliminated from the playoffs yet. Great success!